I wanted to begin with a story that speaks obviously to the issue of firearms ownership in Canada, and in particular in Saskatchewan, but also the relationship between provinces and the federal government. In the early days of the pandemic, the government, with the stroke of a pen, prohibited 1,500 different models of guns, declared them prohibited. That was back May the 1st, 2020. Then just recently announcing they're going to freeze the transfer of any handguns. So, in other words, if the federal government goes through with this, anybody who owns a handgun now will be able to continue owning it, but after that point, they will effectively be banning handguns in Canada. So those are pretty dramatic moves. Alberta sending a letter to the Alberta RCMP advising that it is not the objective policy or goal of the government of Alberta to take firearms from Albertans, and they're telling the RCMP not to carry that out. So I got thinking, what's going on in Saskatchewan? We reached out to the Minister of Justice, the Minister of Corrections, and they suggested that we should talk to a guy you've come to know well on this show. He's the Chief Firearms Officer, Robert Freberg. His office has been working closely on these files for months now, and it turns out there is a Saskatchewan response. It just hasn't been getting the kind of attention that Alberta has had. Bob Freberg joins me in studio now. Hey, good to have you here.
Good morning, John. Thanks for having me on your show and your listeners taking time to listen to our presentation. Okay,
so Alberta writes a letter to the RCMP. What is Saskatchewan doing on this issue?
Well, first of all, John, it didn't come as any surprise to our government or to our office because I work closely with the CFO, Teri Bryant, in Alberta. We talk sometimes daily, at least a few times a week. And this particular issue has been going back and forth, and we've been working with our government as well. And I'm really pleased to let you know that today, that as of yesterday, Assistant Commissioner Rhonda Blackmore received a letter from my minister, Minister Tell, that it basically says the following, that the government of Saskatchewan fully supports anti-crime initiatives that truly focus on the issues related to the criminal use of firearms and preventing, combating gang violence and addressing the issue of illegal or smuggled guns in our province. However, we do not support initiatives that will impact law-abiding, RCMP-vetted hunters, sport shooters, ranchers, farmers, and others who use firearms for lawful and good purposes. That said, we will not authorize the use of provincially funded resources of any type for the federal government's buyback, and I would like to correct that and say confiscation program. So I think the listeners out there should know that we have followed on the heels of Alberta, but this has been in the works for a while, and we certainly support Alberta's position.
So that letter has been sent then by the Minister of Corrections to the RCMP?
Yes, and it's been received yesterday.